Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Northern Perspective. I'm Ryan.
And I'm Tanya.
And don't worry, because you will be able to keep track of the Jays game. So, I'm sure everyone's going to appreciate that, who's a baseball fan. And if you're not a baseball fan, well, you can ignore it. So, there you go. Anyway, thanks for joining us on Thanksgiving Sunday, everybody. And I hope everybody has been having a good long weekend. For those of you that are getting a long weekend, doesn't seem like we have a long weekend around here. But
not with Vincent around. That kid's got so much energy. Oh my goodness.
It is what it is.
Fortunately, it was a nice day today. You were able to take him to the park for a bit.
Yeah, so it was a little warm out here. I saw some folks talking about getting the stuff that falls from the sky that shall not be named. So unfortunate for you, but
frozen precipitation.
Yeah, something like that. Anyway, before we go anywhere, let's get to house rules.
So the house rules are the same three as always. Number 1, please respect each other and the show. Number 2, no selling, soliciting, or spamming in the chat. And number 3, please do not use profanity. This evening for moderators, we have Cujo, we have Don, and Barnaby just got here. So as soon as you see him say hi in chat, you can start sending Barnaby all your questions for the Q&A portion of the show.
Absolutely. So don't forget to like the stream on the way in. Put your feet up, grab your beverage of choice, grab your popcorn or whatever you want to munch on, or if you're trying to lose weight like I am, then cheat a little bit. Anyway, yes, it is game 1 of the ALCS, everybody. That's not why we're here, but we're going to keep track of it. Have the scoreboard up here, and I have a stream over here with probably about a 3-minute lag behind. So but I can watch it out of the corner of my eye and make sure that if anyone can't watch it, there's going to be some pertinent updates.
Some commentary. So you get politics and baseball tonight, it sounds like.
Kind of. Well, it's going to be, in theory, it may be over by the time the stream ends, so we'll see what happens. So anyway, folks, what a week. I'm dealing with some unexpected vertigo, so if I wobble back and forth or have to vacate at a moment's notice, you know why, but not sure where that's coming from, but it's better today than it was yesterday. So anyway, that's what we got. But want to make sure we say happy Thanksgiving in style. So ladies and gentlemen, here is our wonderful poster that Tanya made, and she can introduce it.
So happy Thanksgiving from Pixel and Pazuzu, the Governor General and the Parliamentary Page Boy, respectively. And it says from Northern Perspective at the bottom because I couldn't resist.
There you go. Gotta love AI, right? So anyway,
they look cute as cartoons.
But what a week! What a week! It was an unexpected week, but I think we can probably say it was a good week by the end of it. So
yeah, because I think you've done something not a lot of people have done before. I mean, how many people get called to a parliamentary committee, right?
Yeah, very few.
There's 40-something million of us in the country, and not many get called to Parliament. So you were able to participate in our democracy in a way that very few have. And I think that's awesome.
Well, and it's great to just be present to try to affect positive change in the country. So, as I said, we're really hoping that this is going to lead to some legislative reform. There seems like there may be some bipartisan support. There is at least not opposition from the Liberals at this point. There seems to be some support by the Bloc. We will see what happens as this study comes to a conclusion, whenever that is, and we see what ends up coming out of committee and back to the House. They are going to be having the chief electoral officer back, so that'll be very interesting to cover that. And we'll see what he says to the fact that his organization received an email from us on July 25th.
And you're actually able to table your legislation, or at least send it to them to be tabled today.
Yes, so. The committee did ask for that to...
Sorry, your evidence, not your legislation.
The committee did ask for that to happen, so that was sent to them today for them to download that package. So
Right, because you
it's
don't
all
want to
theirs.
be held in contempt of Parliament for not sending your evidence.
Right, I'll be invited back, but for other reasons.
You'll be invited to the bar.
So
And not Barnaby's bar.
no, and not the Hamilton Street bar either. So, but we're looking forward now. So looking forward, Mr. Carney is getting himself into more and more of a pickle, folks, because he's dealing with these splintering factions that are within the Liberal Party. The first one that we talked about was the let's just call it the anti-Jewish hate faction, which is 32 of the Caucus members signed a letter basically condemning anti-Semitism. Kind of confusing why the rest of them didn't sign that. 80% of their caucus refused to sign it.
Well, I mean, you think that's a no-brainer, especially for the Liberals that are always going on about, people being persecuted and like demeaned and things like this.
Right. So who knows? So that's interesting. As we all saw this week, there seems to be a very real prospect of an end to this conflict, at least temporarily, in the Middle East between Israel and
Hamas.
And Hamas.
But it sounds like Canada complicated that.
It made it more complicated, as well as Britain and these other countries that were recognizing Hamas, right? So,
Well, they were recognizing Palestine,
which is recognizing
allegedly,
Hamas.
which is, yeah. So, I mean,
it complicates it, because it effectively signals to Hamas that, we're getting support,
yeah, you guys,
and we don't have to do anything.
You can do whatever you want, and we'll still support you, which is not the way it's supposed to work, right?
But despite all of that, sounds like the U.S. stepped in and threatened to put the hammer down, and thank goodness, seems like we're going to be getting the rest of the hostages released, and we'll see what ends up at the end of this road. But hopefully this can end in peace in the region, and they can work towards some sort of permanent peaceful solution. But it is what it is. So Carney was on the wrong side of that, and he was on the wrong side of a visit down to the White House, because
As predicted, nothing got accomplished?
Right, as predicted, nothing got accomplished. Mulcair was trying to say, "Oh yeah, something's done, yeah," and they're going to announce it.
Mulcair is like such a cheerleader for Carney. And now people accuse us of being cheerleaders for PR and or the Conservatives, but I mean, if they do something embarrassing like that, you best believe we're going to call it out.
Oh yeah. For them, we'll say, "What are you doing?"
That was a boneheaded move.
But yeah, when it comes to this man crush that Mulcair seems to have, it's something else. Our son is out of his bed, so Tanya's going to go and deal with that. The other thing that he's going to have to deal with is coming back, yet another deal that is not there on tariffs, and he's saying, "Oh, don't worry, but it's coming." Now, there seems to be some sort of feeling that a deal is coming, and I think we saw that from the Conservatives this week, because they weren't chastising so much for not having a deal. They were chastising him for what he committed to give up. So it seems like now that the Conservatives are readying their playbook for the fact that a deal may be announced relatively soon. You're not going to see all the tariffs fall off. Poilievre already stomped on Carney for not getting anything from the auto sector, which we already found. Yeah. And he's also stomped on him for allegedly giving up $1 trillion to the United States in private investments. So Carney's not getting a lot of wins here, and the Conservatives are already they're trying to paint the upcoming quote-unquote deal that they're going to be announcing as badly as possible, because remember, tariffs have doubled under Mark Carney since we've started. So this leads us to a panel which Vassy Cabellos hosted today, where you had 3 commentators, 2 of them being people that you'll recognize, Corey Tenike and Scott Reed, both of them. Well, I won't say what most of us are probably thinking, but you had some very different takes on what was going on, and now the issue of this discussion of a pipeline is coming up, and again, very different takes about what's going on and the politics that Danielle Smith is playing with from the Alberta side, and the politics that Mark Carney is or is not playing. But again, this comes back to the original theme of the stream, which is there's going to be some more splintering going on within the Liberal caucus, because if Carney supports the pipeline, then the Trudeau Liberals are really not going to be happy, because they are extremist environmentalists. And that's not a small portion of the caucus. And if he doesn't go with the pipeline, well, then he falls into this whole thing of, you said you were going to be building Canada and all of this. This is then compounded with this whole business of China, because China has said, if you drop the tariffs on the EVs, on our EVs, we'll drop the tariffs on canola. Now, there's some real concern out there that a lot of the Chinese EVs may be coming with state-sponsored spyware, and maybe you're giving them all kinds of data on you, on your driving. Maybe it's listening to you. We don't know. There's a lot of concern as to what is coming out of China. So are the Trudeau Liberals in Carney's cabinet going to be pleased or not pleased with the fact that if they drop the tariffs on EVs, then there's more electric vehicles coming into Canada? But then you're selling out the farmers in the West. Or, sorry, you're not selling out the farmers in the West, but you're selling out your relationship with the United States, and it's going to make it much more difficult to get a deal done with them. So he's in this vice from all of these different perspectives. It's very, very complicated in the pressures, both political and international, that Mark Carney is dealing with right now. And man, it's going to take some very, very careful maneuvering for him to get through this unscathed, and I don't think he can.
Well, and that's just the thing. I think this is why it's almost a good thing that Pierre Poilievre is not prime minister right now, because it would be him getting all the flack, and then everybody would be like, oh, look at this guy, he can't get a deal with the United States, or he's getting garbage from China and with the EVs and all this stuff, right? I think it's kind of better that Carney's here right now. He's going to be the fall guy. And then hopefully as early as spring or summer, and again, that's not a guarantee, that's just kind of what we're hearing, but hopefully as early as spring or summer, that we will have an election and everything will be better. Anyway,
we can get to some of the administrative stuff. He's out of bed again, so
okay.
So let's get to that, folks, and then we will get into this panel where it's very, very interesting. Dandyman 966 for $5. So the government is only bringing a budget in the fall. How is the government going to fall in the spring? Also, does Carney know about opposition days? So yes, he'll know about opposition days, but they're still going to have to do some sort of supply vote in March, right? It's going to have to come in March, and there's probably going to be another supply day throughout that spring session, so I'm not worried about that. The issue is that most people think that the only time that the government can fall is during a budget vote, which is a non-confidence vote. But there's many other opportunities to actually vote non-confidence on the government. There's other non-budget votes, but it's still money related to fund the government, and there's potential motions from the opposition, which that's what Dandyman 966 is referring to. So there's going to be a lot of opportunity in the spring for the government to fall. It doesn't necessarily have to be on the budget. So if the government does try to move, and from what we've heard or what we've seen, it seems like they're going to try to move the budget to now being presented in the fall, because that makes sense. 6 months after the year is started, that makes a lot of sense. that's not going to be a big deal in terms of getting a confidence vote in the spring in order to actually have the government fall. And we have Dan Mayo, welcome to NP supporter. Thank you very much, as well as Ron Curtis. Thank you both for joining. Jessica Van Luke for $7. I can't believe that Trudeau is dating Katy Perry. The comment section of I Kissed a Girl is going crazy with people making funny jokes about it. Yeah, I bet they are. To be honest, it's not something that we really care about because the way we look at it, Trudeau loves attention and he wants as much attention as possible. So we're going to do the opposite of that and not give it any attention whatsoever.
I will say that it's pretty gross that they were on a yacht because, I mean, think of how many Canadians are suffering right now, and this guy's just like partying it up with a superstar.
Yep. You know,
yeah.
He's unemployed and he can afford to just screw around on a yacht.
Well, and that's it. Like, look at the damage he did to this country in the decade that he was prime minister, and we're all suffering because of it. And he's just living the high life. There
you go. Autistic Adventure for $2. The only games I'm into involve a controller, LOL. There you go. Alice Avonlea for $2. I have a long weekend anytime I want. Retired. Good for you. Good for you, Alice. And Hell Knight JP for $5. Happy Thanksgiving from my family to the families of the NP Nation family. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Damien McNeil dropping 5 Northern Perspective memberships. Thank you very, very much for that. And how dare you? Member for 10 months. Ryan, Tanya Mods, and chat. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving.
You very much. How dare you? Megan Bartlett for $5. Putting in my vote for the new meme from committee. Cooper's, yes, how convenient, has such potential with the Lib government.
Yes, I'm writing that one down for later.
and yes, folks, we are going to need to pick some memes from that. So maybe what we'll do is we'll start just a discussion post on the YouTube community, and you can just write in your quotes and the timestamp from the committee live stream, and then we'll go through them, and then we'll pick our favorites, and then we'll have a vote on them, and then we'll see what we get. Granite Man for $2. Are you worried about C18? C18?
That is the Online News Act.
Oh.
So not really. I mean,
C11 is the one we're more concerned about. But that hasn't really been implemented yet.
Not yet. Like, it's been given royal assent and it was going through the draft legislation. But I don't know if it's finalized, and I don't know if it's something that they're like, you know what, we're going to put this on the back burner for now because there are more important things that need to be focused upon. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, C11 is the more concerning one.
Lee Busby for $2.79. Did C9 fail? So C9 hasn't failed. What we can tell, and we're going to be doing a bit of a video on this week, is that C2 has completely failed in one of the core aspects of it, in terms of the intent to allow police officers to get access to your internet data without a warrant. And
the Canadian Post can open up your mail, I think.
Right. So from what we've seen, from what we've heard, Gary has essentially capitulated and has said that they're going to take that out. Now that has become a new bill, C12, exact same name, and we're going to double check that bill to make sure that the changes that are expected are actually in there. So the Conservatives and the opposition may have scored a really big win on Bill C2. So stay tuned for that.
We have Jim Ross with a $20 super chat. Thank you very much. It says, after your time on the Hill, do you think Carney will recover from the shellacking that he took from Pierre in question period?
He'll try. And he's going to try to recover from that by getting some sort of deal with Donald Trump. And he's going to try and make everyone forget about that. Remember his talking point? We have the best deal in the world, right now. He's the new talking point. I can hear it now. We already had the best deal, and we just made it even better.
Yeah, of course. Of course, that's what he's going to do. But
Even though it's going to be higher tariffs than when he started.
I think you're always going to have those people, though, that are going to vote for Carney and defend him no matter what. But I think the average Canadian right now is going, okay, it's been 6 months with this new government. They took the entire summer off, which maybe they shouldn't have. The crime is still bad in my neighborhood. Groceries are still extremely expensive. I'm starting to default on my mortgage. I think more Canadians are going to come around and go, you know what? I'm not voting Liberal anymore.
And that's another story we're going to be doing this week, because what we've been warning of, it's starting to really, really happen in terms of that mortgage crisis. So stay tuned for that story as well. The Contrarian 52 for $7. Do you know if the previous parliamentary scandals will be followed up on, or are they just forgotten? From what I know, that there was some that they were following up on, like the condo scandal and things like that.
And the $64 million ArriveCan scandal. I know, what's the committee that Ned's in? Not
Public Accounts.
Public Accounts. They were trying to get the money back. So I don't know, if they're focusing on that right this second, but I do recall Ned saying that they were focusing on trying to get the money back.
Because they've already had meetings with the Auditor General on ArriveCan, continuing that, and some additional hearings on that. So the good thing is, because our MP is now on that committee, we'll be able to ask some questions and see what the status is on some of that.
Or at least he'll tell us where we can look.
Yep.
Yeah.
But the other challenge is there's all these bills, and there's new scandals coming out from Mark Carney. So
that's the thing. There's just more scandals and more scandals.
Yeah. Granite Man for $2. China has infiltrated Canada for the last 40 years, especially in the last 20. And another $2. Thank you very much. Carney wants auto industry fail, bring in PRC EVs. I guess we'll see, right? I guess we'll see. The catch is going to be what happens with his relationship with the United States, because the United States and Donald Trump told Carney to put those tariffs on in the first place. He did. Then China turned around and tariffed the canola on Western Canada. That's hurting the canola farmers. So if Carney now turns around and repeals that tariff, China says, we'll repeal the canola ones if you repeal yours first. So worst case for Carney is he repeals the EV tariff. China doesn't repeal the canola, and now he's ticked off Donald Trump in the United States, and now they want something else. So it's a mess.
It's a huge mess.
It's a big foreign affairs mess.
But weren't you saying that they are selling the Chinese EVs for less than what it costs to manufacture them?
Yes. Yeah.
So why is the question, right?
Well, that is the question. Why is China doing that? To be charitable?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. Rick RT, member for 5 months. Trudeau deserves a jail cell, especially for what happened in SNC-Lavalin. Chris Corpus for $20. Thank you very much with a "You Are Amazing" super sticker. Thank you much. And Steve Verderina for $7. How do you think Doug Ford will react towards Carney with the American auto tariffs and potentially the Chinese EVs? Bromance over. Maybe. Like, Doug Ford will always do what's in Doug Ford's best interest, not what's in Canada's best interest, not what's in Ontario's interest. What is in Doug Ford's best interest?
Yeah, and Doug Ford's best interest right now is to keep the Ontario voters voting for the Ontario Conservative Party. So if that means screwing over the federal Conservative Party, well, that's just fine and dandy, isn't it?
Remember, one of the main reasons politically Doug Ford wanted Mark Carney in Ottawa is because it's very rare in Ontario to have the same party in power as is in Ottawa. Why? Because you need a boogeyman to blame everything on. So Doug Ford, it's in his best interest to have a Liberal government in power so he can blame everything going wrong in Ontario
on the federal government. Who's a different party. Yeah.
So it's going to be a lot easier for him to do that if Mark Carney and the Liberals are in power than if a Conservative government is in power. Because if it's a Conservative government is in power, it's going to be much harder for him to blame all of his failures on a Conservative government. So that's our analysis on that, and there's no necessary bromance between and Carney. It was really in his best interest to side with Carney to get him elected, because now he can throw shade at him anytime he wants. And we have Brian Campbell for $20. Hi, Ryan. Do you think Gary should take a lesson from you on how to act in committee, because he bombed in the gun buyback because you fully rocked it, like I wrote before? Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you very much. Yeah, I think a lot of Liberals should take lessons from, just common sense people, because I didn't do anything crazy in committee. I just answered questions.
And told the truth. That's
told the truth. That's all you need to do. But yeah.
And you also need to hit the like button, please, because we're more than 50% behind. So please hit that like button for us.
Yeah, we're 1,500 likes behind, folks. So if you could help us get back up, that would be great. But it's atrocious the way these ministers come to committee and they won't even answer yes or no questions, and it's gross.
Well, and the thing is, ministers can decline going to committee if they want to. So they're essentially saying, like, yeah, I'll come to committee, but I'm still not going to be a good witness and answer questions.
Yeah.
Like, why waste everybody's time? Just say no.
Will Kalchuk for $2. The Randy meme. Where is the Randy meme?
Randy! Have you been hanging out with Randy?
Needs to be the Gary meme now. It would be a really crappy, choppy Randy meme turning into Gary, but we'll see what happens. I suppose I could put a SpongeBob voice in there instead.
Yeah, you probably could. That's right, because he's got a cat named Gary.
Marie Perrin for $2. So many scandals. What do you do first? That's the challenge.
Draw from a hat, I guess. I don't know.
And Granite Man for $2. Orwell's novel 1984. He predicted future. It's now. There's a lot of eerie similarities, right? Gordon Mirror for dropping 10 memberships. Thank you very, very much, Gordon. And Lady Gamerloon for $5. I'm embarrassed to admit on Friday the words more Pierre Polyev, less PR Polyev in the next election came out while talking to him on Friday. Oops. Oh, well. Oh, well. It is what it is. And Steve Fancy for $2. Thank you very, very much. And Will Kalchuk for $2. Hit the like. We hit 3,000 gifts on the way. There you go. Will's always good for his word. All right. Let's see this dumpster fire of a panel that happened earlier today.
Our Sunday strategy session is here to dig into the stakes for the federal government on that. Shannon Phillips is a former NDP MLA and cabinet minister in Alberta. Corey Tonight was Ontario Premier Doug Ford's campaign manager and former director of communications for Prime Minister Stephen Harper. And Scott Reed is a CTV News political analyst and former communications director to Prime Minister Paul Martin. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Scott, I'll start with you because what really stuck out to me from the Prime Minister's comments today was kind of how different they were from the federal energy minister the day before, who testified before the Senate and was very much like, this ain't my problem. Alberta's got to convince BC to get on board. The Prime Minister didn't do any of that deflecting and really, to me, did not rule out the possibility of this happening. Why do you think that is?
Because I think he's playing it smart. I think, by saying that he remains open to the pipeline proposal, by saying that he even remains open to the possibility, depending upon circumstances, that he might move on the tanker ban. I think he is trying to carefully manage what has been brought forward as clearly a provocation, not just a proposal, but a provocation by Danielle Smith. I mean, she's literally just pulled the pin on this grenade, thrown it over, tried to land it in Carney's lap. And I think by taking the position he has, the Prime Minister is very carefully putting the pin back into the grenade and handing it over to Alberta again and saying, here, Danielle Smith, I think you may have dropped this. I think it's smart. Ultimately, this thing is going to come to a head. There will or will not be a proposal. There will or will not be consideration of all the policies surrounding it. But it's smart for the Prime Minister to not close the door, because he then robs Danielle Smith of the ability to say, my God, this is an affront to Alberta, and evidence, therefore, that Canada just does not exist. After 158 years, I think we can say safely that Canada exists, that Canada works. And I see the Prime Minister refusing to take the bait. I think that's smart.
Do you think that's what's happening, Corey?
No, I don't. I think this is watching the Liberal Party federally tear itself apart a little bit over these issues. To listen to Carney during the election campaign, pipelines were very much on the table, and I think you heard a bit of that in his press conference. But you got to cross balance that with parts of the former Trudeau government that still exist, including within his cabinet, and new additions like Gregor Robertson, someone who's from the far left of the BC NDP traditionally, who are vehemently anti-pipeline. Stephen Guilbeault is one of the biggest and longest-standing environmental radicals in this country. These guys are part of the Trudeau team and that ethos that are diametrically opposed to this stuff. Carney is more like Harper, frankly, in terms of some of the policies and paths he's been pursuing. And what you're seeing play out in real time is the contradiction between those two sides of the Liberal Party, the Liberal Party of Trudeau versus the Liberal Party of Carney. And I'm increasingly thinking it's irreconcilable without one part of that party being exited at the back.
Shannon, you have a lot of experience.
Okay. So Scott Reid, forever on Carney damage control, is trying to say, oh, beautifully played. Beautifully played by Mr. Carney. Playing it so smart. And meanwhile, this is where, man, I'm actually agreeing with Corey tonight. Corey's calling this what it is. And Scott is not addressing this problem of the fact that he has ministers over here saying, well, I don't know, I don't think this is going to happen. Pipelines are bad and all this stuff. And then Carney is saying, well, maybe, I don't know. That's a very ambiguous message coming from your government. So obviously they're not on the same page. And what? Scott Reid is trying to say, oh, but that's just him being smart, that he's not on the same page with the rest of his cabinet. No, there's something going on there. Because what's supposed to happen is if you have a locked-in team, you have a locked-in leadership, you have a locked-in cabinet, everyone says the same thing, no matter what you're doing.
Well, and they're all working towards the same goal.
Right. And, you have that united front, and it doesn't matter who reporters try and get in and try and get them to say something different. If everyone's saying the same thing, then that shows unity. That shows you actually have a really strong direction. What this says to us is that even though Carney's trying to have a strong direction, he has people that are, surprise, surprise, they're liberals, trying to look out for themselves. And they're not trying to look out for Canadians. And they're trying to look out for their own radical ideologies. So that's the issue, what's going on here. And this is where the NDP, if you're listening, you can capitalize on this. We don't agree with the far left and radical ideologies, but when they're splintering in the Liberals, that's where you need to say, hey, Liberals, come on over here. Because we actually are consistent on this, and they're not. And the more people that leave from the Liberals to go to NDP, the more support drops from the Liberals. We don't need the support to go up any higher for the Conservatives because it's quite high as it is by historical standards. We just need the Liberals to continue to drop as they already have been. So this is what's going on right now within the Liberal caucus. You have the pro-Jewish people over here, you have the environmentalists over here, and then you have the carnival carnies over here. And everything's pulling against each other. So this is going to be a problem for Mark Carney.
At the provincial level, with a party that may not, not everyone in the party or around the cabinet table may not have believed exactly the same thing about resource development. Do you think, like Corey, that in this instance, at the federal level among the Liberals, that those differences are irreconcilable?
Well, I can tell you without equivocation that anyone who served in the Rachel Notley cabinet was foursquare behind the Trans Mountain expansion because of what it has actually delivered both to Albertans in terms of royalty revenue and incremental other revenues and to GDP uplift for the entire country. What Carney is doing out here is actually really smart. He's getting out from under the old intellectual cul-de-sac that we've been driven into around pipeline debates, and he's actually reflecting a new Liberal approach to this, but also a new BC NDP approach to this. This is not the BC NDP of 10 years ago, not at all. Premier Eby has been pretty clear that he's happy with LNG expansion. He's happy to dredge the port to make sure more boats more often can take commodities out of that port. He has even said, let's fill the TMX pipeline, or let's even expand it if necessary. So this is a different electoral coalition for the BC NDP, different incentives, and a different Liberal Party. Mr. Carney's actually been really smart here. He has tried to elevate this conversation so that it doesn't drive into the same old dead-end corners that it used to. And he has set the stakes as there needs to be a private sector proponent, there needs to be Indigenous participation, and the fact is, for a West Coast pipeline, you can repeal all the environmental laws you want. You can pass an act of parliament that declares climate change a hoax and make it legal to dump mercury in the river. You will still have Section 35 of the Constitution in your way, and both the Indigenous self-government organizations along the pipeline route, but also at the terminus, have been pretty clear on a North Coast line. And so that remains an obstacle, but what Carney is trying to do is elevate this beyond the old arguments. And I think for his purposes right now, it is a better answer than what Hodgson gave, and I think allows the private sector to understand what the rules of the road are now.
Okay, Corey's shaking his head right now. You go, Corey, and I'll get Scott right after.
Well, it's as clear as mud what's going on, right? So it depends who you're listening to on what day. Like the political minister for British Columbia for this government was on the hurly-burly not a week ago saying with no more pipelines. We've had other members of the cabinet say no more pipelines. You have reports of assurances that tanker bans will be lifted and that the caps will be lifted, coming from Carney to various premiers, and then ambiguity in the press conference that you just heard. They're doing this dance of the seven veils here around this stuff, and if you're trying to say at the same time that you want to attract private capital and private sector proponents for this, well, just shoveling more and more ambiguity on what the regulatory framework are and what the rules that those will be operated in, it almost makes you feel like you're killing the projects before they can even come forward.
Oh, Mariners caught back up.
I agree. I agree with Mr. Tonight. And yes, they did. If you know that government is not going to be building a pipeline, right? Government not going to be funding it. Government shouldn't be funding building pipelines.
No, but they should be permitting a pipeline.
Right. But if you make it so convoluted as to what your stance is on a government when it comes to a pipeline, why would any private entity say, let's put together a proposal to actually put one in? Why would anyone do that? And again, when you have the tanker ban in there, when you have Bill C-69 still in place and all of this stuff, why would you?
Well, and that's it. Why, as a private entity, would you take the risk of getting everything ready and maybe, breaking ground and starting to try to make this pipeline, and then maybe in 4 years the government goes, oh no, we changed our mind, no more pipelines, and then you're out all that money?
And I think this is Carney's not so smart way of trying to say, well, no one brought a legitimate pipeline proposal forward, so we couldn't even consider it. Yeah, well, you're not going to do that when there's all of these things in place that would make even investing in the money to create a proposal pointless.
Well, and Canada's lack of a pipeline helps protect Brookfield's interest in pipelines in the States, does it not?
Well, yeah. They're investing more down there. And Enbridge Gas up here is sending money down south to build pipelines. They can build them down there. We can't build them up here. And the CEO of Enbridge was like, yeah, this is stupid up here. this is the problem.
I mean, it's like finding some natural resource in your backyard and going, no, I'm going to make it so I can't extract that resource and I can't benefit financially from it. And, my neighbors can't have jobs doing that for me. Like, it's ridiculous. You're shooting yourself in the foot.
So this is the game that's being played here. And it's not really being played very well by Mark Carney because, again, he doesn't like domestic politics. Doesn't like it. And we know he doesn't like it because he doesn't play it. Doesn't play it very well at all. He likes being on the international stage. He likes other countries kowtowing to him and paying him homage and being polite to him and all this stuff.
That's a good point. I think maybe that's why he wears his Order of Canada pin. It's because, he wants to be the important guy. Like, look at Pierre. He's always got a Canadian flag on his lapel.
Right. And I would expect, even if Pierre was given the Order of Canada, I would still expect him to wear that Canadian flag because it's not about you.
It's about the country.
It's about the country. And you don't have to know a thing about Mark Carney. But the fact that he chooses to wear the Order of Canada that says, look what I was given, versus look at the country I want to work for, that should tell you all that you need to know about his priorities. So, anyway, I think this is going to be a continual problem for this Liberal Party moving forward. This push and pull of this environmental policy, it seems like they don't even know what's going on themselves. Seems like there's contention in these cabinet meetings, and it's spilling over into the press when you have the ministers saying one thing and Mark Carney saying something else. There's obviously a divide there, because otherwise they'd all be saying the exact same thing. So, anyway, let's get back to the administrative parts.
We're starting with Janet Gage.
Remember, for 17 months, can you make a Gary meme a chipmunk?
I don't know.
Maybe.
I think the best thing would be to find SpongeBob going like, Gary.
Yeah. Gary. Yeah. Laura Baker for $14. Thoughts about the discovery of the 2018 IRAC report on PEI and land holdings doesn't exist because the investigation was never completed regarding the claim of 17,000 acres of land held by the CCP. Haven't looked at that in depth yet, but I did hear about it, and it is interesting to say the least. So, yeah.
Further study required.
Further study required.
On our part.
That's not a simple issue. So. Yeah. Pitsky P for $10. Nanos Research polling trends 2025 August 8th Liberals plus 13, 2025 September 12th Liberals plus 12, and
plus 7.
Oh yeah, and 2025 October 3rd Liberals plus 1, waiting for the next Nanos poll. So are we, because allegedly the next Nanos poll shows that the Conservatives would be winning a minority in the next poll. So.
Yeah, because we had seen an infographic with that on it. It said it was a Nanos the 8th, I think, of October, and we haven't been able to find that poll. But sometimes these pollsters will be like contracted by places like CBC, CTV, Global News, etc., to run polls for them. So it could have been like a private poll like that.
And Nanos is usually providing data to CTV, so
yeah, but we haven't been able to find it yet, so we can't really comment.
So and we reported on this before that that Nanos, because this is the significant pollster, because they were leaning pretty far towards the Liberals. It's dropping like a stone for support for them.
And if you have a Liberal pollster that's falling, you can be sure that it's true, because the Liberal pollsters, they don't do it on purpose, but their data is just kind of skewed to make the Liberals look a little bit better. And also Conservatives are generally underrepresented in the polls by 1 to 2 points. Yeah.
Well, Kowchuk for $2, do you think you can get Cooper on the show? Maybe. There's a much higher chance now than last year. So, what we might do is we might wait until the longest ballot study is finished.
It's done, yeah. That way there's no appearance of any whatever.
collusion. And then we can have them on and we can have them talk about it. So
Yeah, that'd be cool. I really can't wait to get my hands on the report, because committee will generate a report once their study is done, and it's going to be a while to read, but I'm really looking forward to seeing what it says.
Lee Busby for 279. Why is Scott still on family TV? He swears so much. Yes, he does. When he's on podcast, he's like a sailor, man. And
Scott Reed?
oh yeah.
Yeah.
He drops F-bombs after F-bombs.
Really?
He drops F-bombs like kids eat Skittles. It's crazy.
Kids do love Skittles.
So, and Jessica Van Luke for 279. Carney is nothing like Harper. My goodness.
100%.
Right. And Jason Barrett for $2. Let's fund a national sewer line to export liberal BS. Yeah, but then where does it go?
Out to the ocean. I don't know. All the fish have to deal with it.
And Anubis Hentai Hades for $2. Enbridge, Oventive, TC Energy ditched 3 of the big 5. And Autistic Avenger for $2. Ryan, can you make a Marvel meme with an Avenger? I don't know what it would be.
Disney's pretty litigious.
I don't know what it would be, to be honest. So
We have Kickin' Blue with a $100 super chat. Thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much.
It says, why can't anyone on this panel see? Carney has never made any promises or commitments with regards to all the environmental regulations. It's all just vague talk. Meanwhile, he plays the provinces off each other so that when nothing gets done, Carney blames everyone else.
Well, and this is actually exactly the point that Vashi Kapellos made in an interview with Melanie Jolie in the last couple days. She said, how are we supposed to hold you to account when you don't give any measurables on how to hold you to account? And then Jolie looked like, she had some bad turkey at dinner in her response to it, and she didn't really know what to say.
Well, what do you say to that?
What can you say to that?
She got called on her plot, if you will.
Well, the Carney government got called on it, right? Because if you don't give any measurables for how you're going to actually be evaluated, then you could never be evaluated. And the Liberals' theory is, well, if we can't be evaluated, then no one can say we're failing then, can they? Oh,
right,
they can.
Right. It's like, oh, I'm the best podcaster in the universe. Okay, well, what makes you the best podcaster in the universe? Well, I don't know. I'm just the best podcaster in the universe. Like, if there's no target, like, how can you measure yourself? How can you actually say you are the best? Maybe you're actually the worst.
But this is where Carney doesn't get it, because there are measurables to see if your government is doing well. Employment, immigration numbers, food bank usage, GDP, like debt,
how many
deficit
people
spending.
are defaulting on their mortgages?
So there's lots of measurables that they don't seem to understand that, yes, that's actually ways to evaluate your government.
Poverty rate.
Yep.
Like, we could sit here just listing them off.
So, and this is going to be the issue, because if they don't define measurables for success, then everybody else will.
Yes, especially the conservatives.
Yeah.
Right? Because the conservatives can point and go, look at our GDP is falling, and our GDP per capita is down, and our immigration numbers through the roof, and our employment numbers are down, especially for kids 15 to 24. So they can start to define it, and Canadians will go, oh yeah, that's a good point.
So watch for these things to really start to happen. The Conservatives are already trying to call back to what Carney had said. Again, very dumb thing to say. It's like, oh, well, Canadians will be able to judge the success of this government by the price of food at the grocery store. Oops.
Prices are not going down. We went
they're going
to
up
the grocery store today to grab a few things, and it was just outrageous.
Yeah, it was over $100. Silly. Like 2 bags of groceries with $100. Stupid.
Sometimes it's only one. Like, that's the insane part.
So, but watch for this to start happening, and watch for the Bloc to kind of start echoing this as well, and the NDP, because they're all really going to start to work together. Now, it's funny. There's a report out that the Liberals were going to look at trying to get the NDP some more parliamentary resource money, but they wanted us to know it had nothing to do with the upcoming budget vote.
Oh, sure it doesn't.
future.
I honestly think, though, that the NDP will support the budget vote, or at the very least, they will abstain from the budget vote so that the Conservatives and Bloc do not form enough to overtake the Liberals.
They'll have to.
They'll have to do something because the NDP does not have a leader right now, and they will not have one until I believe it's March the 28th.
Yeah, the NDP will have no choice but to support the budget. So, and
like I said, they could abstain, but
well, no one should be surprised by that, and everyone should expect them to, not because they want the Liberals in, but because they need a leader.
right.
And they're not going to go to an election without a leader. So they need to complete that leadership race. And that's okay, everybody, because the polls aren't where they need to be for the Conservatives to go to an election right now. So that's okay. If the opposition voted down the Liberals right now, the Liberals would scream that they didn't have enough time to actually implement their plan. And you would see, no doubt, a Liberal majority. So we do not want the government to fall right now. That would be bad. We can let it fall in the spring towards June, because then they can't use this garbage excuse, well, we didn't have enough time to do anything. You had lots of time to do some stuff and you squandered it, and you've accomplished absolutely nothing. Megaman 0 for $5. To be honest, I really want all those corrupts that are actually wrongdoing Canadians to finally be jailed. Jail, not bail, for corrupt politicians. I don't disagree. We need more corruption equals criminal legislation when it comes to the politicians of this country. BRJ Too Far for $2.79. Thank you very much. And Doodoo for $5. If you do an Avengers meme, Ryan, it should be of the Hulk smashing Loki around the floor. Puny God. Oh, it'd be great if Loki said, I am a banker, and then puny banker. Oh, that would be great.
Goodness.
Maybe that's it. Anubis Hentai Hades for $5. Ignore the middle part of my name and supers. It's for another channel.
I'll bet it is.
You sure?
Wow.
FYI, 3 of the big 5 oil and gas divert all capital to the United States is what I meant. Got it.
I'll be perfectly honest. I'm surprised that YouTube allows you to have that word in your username.
Right. And Doodoo for $20. It does feel like the Carney Liberal government is standing on thin. You know what? Hold on. This is for you, Anubis.
Look inside yourself, Rosemary.
Anyway,
Start from the top.
it does feel like Carney Liberal government is standing on thin ice on a lake. It's cracking, and only a matter of time before the ice breaks and the Liberals fall through. Yeah, and this isn't anything that's like our special insight. This goes all the way back to election night with Bob Bertina and Dan McTeague. They were saying that this would happen.
And I remember, because we ended really late. I think Dan must have left maybe around 1:30 in the morning.
We were surprised that they stayed that long.
Yeah, and I was showing Dan to the door and saying thank you for coming, and I was starting to get really emotional because Pierre lost his seat, and I was like, oh my gosh, what are we gonna do? And he said, don't worry, Pierre's gonna be back. They'll find him a spot probably out west, and he will run in that riding, and he'll be back in the House, and in like a year and a half, we'll be back to an election. And so far, his prophecy is coming true. So we shall see about the rest.
BRJ Too Far for $7. Do you think the Liberals are trying to position Alberta separatists as the new boogeyman for the next election?
Possibly.
I think that would be a mistake, because there's a bunch of people, especially in Ontario, there's a bunch of people that understand the importance of the oil and gas sector in Alberta, and understand the importance of pipelines. There's a ton of people. Like, I would say, as evidenced by the, I think, 56 Conservatives that were elected in Ontario, there are millions of people in Ontario that understand that. So if they try to demonize one area of Canada, you're going to see a big backlash to that.
But I think a lot of Canadians are wising up to this division thing. When COVID happened and they were blaming the trucker convoy, a lot of people, I think even to an extent, including us, kind of had the wool pulled over our eyes. You're not paying attention. You're busy. You don't really know what's going on. And there's this division. And I think that now a lot of Canadians have woken up to that. And they're like, you know what? These are my countrymen. They may have a different way of doing things. They may have different beliefs than me. But what we all want is a better Canada. And it's just about how we get to that better Canada. And maybe if we talk to each other instead of demonizing each other, then we'll be able to come to some sort of resolution.
But if you also look at the polls, because there's been many polls done for Canadians that support pipelines, almost every province supports pipelines, even BC. Despite what David Eby will have you say, or have you believe, everyone supports a pipeline. So it's over 50% in every single province. Majority rules, right?
Well, a pipeline, a coast-to-coast pipeline is essential for Canada to prosper as a nation. I mean, think of all the jobs it will create. It'll create jobs in every single province.
Build it along the frickin' railway. To me, that's the only part it seems to make any sense to build it. But, you know, what do I know? I can't even begin to think of the wealth that would be unleashed on Canada, especially Alberta, if we had a transcontinental pipeline. It would be a complete game changer for this country. Will Kowchuk for $2, just a tease. Let's get to 3,000 likes. Oh, so we're 900 away, folks, and we have over 3,000 viewers, so
hit that like button, please. Will's always good on his word.
And Will dropping the first set of his teas. He's dropping 10 memberships. Thank you very, very much for that, Will. Rabbit Ace for $5 doing Thanksgiving dinner tonight, but needed to stop to say hi, NP people. Hope you have an awesome Thanksgiving. And you as well.
Thank you. You too.
We have Made in Canada 182 for $20. I was blown away watching Ryan at committee. So proud of the investigative work you both did and seeing it pay off big time. I was laughing watching it live. All the faces Cooper was making. I love the new sign. Amazing. Thank you very much.
Wasn't that great? When Ryan called me after committee was dead, I was like, you should have seen Cooper's reaction when you were testifying. It was great.
Well, both him and
Blaine Calkins, yeah.
Mark Elliott for $14. Have you guys weighed in on the ostrich saga yet? How do you think it'll pan out? So we have a couple times in that there's some really critical legislation that's going through the House that we are paying our attention to and watching like a hawk. So that's the first bit. But the second bit is there's a lot of information that's not being put out there, either intentionally or not intentionally, that is very much conflicting with what is being put out there. So we're not going to put out an incomplete video because of all of that additional information. It's just there's too much conflicting information out there, and it wouldn't be fair without doing our full due diligence. So,
and in terms of how do you think it will pan out, the truth is we don't know. We're watching the same as everybody, checking every morning to see if there's any news.
All I can say is I agree with Pierre in that the Liberals have completely screwed this up. Like
royally.
It's more the agency itself, but the agency, is related to the federal government. They've completely screwed this up from the beginning. Michael N., member for 10 months. My opinion is that the only reason Carney won the election is because of full frontal propaganda campaign by the mainstream media. The manipulation was crazy. Well, and they had a full 3-month leadership campaign where all you heard was Liberal talking points.
Well, and because Parliament was prorogued, the Conservatives weren't really in the media. They weren't saying much. And I think that was a mistake on their part. I mean, you have to kind of dance carefully when you've got an opposing party running a leadership race. You don't want to be like, look at us, look at me, look, we're so great, But at the same time, you can't fall out of the public's eye, and I think that is kind of what happened. And that was just one of many things that contributed to the Liberals winning. And
one of the most important provinces that they win in decided we're going to have a provincial election at exactly that time. So it was just...
Well, in Ontario, we did get more Conservative seats than we've had since Harper. So, like at the federal level.
Yeah.
So I mean, we did well.
We made
Could we have
gains.
done better?
Yeah.
Sure. But we did well.
Yeah. Megaman 0 for $5. To be honest, in Quebec, I'm inciting people to vote Bloc while working to move to Alberta. Oh, there you go. As the saying goes, if the Liberals don't win in Quebec, they lose the election. If the Conservatives don't win in Toronto, they lose the election.
Or the GTA, really.
GTA.
Yeah.
Cat C for 279. Who in the world would okay this budget? $100 billion in debt, right?
Mark Carney, apparently. Who's the finance minister? Oh, Champagne right now. Well, I guess he's putting that forward. Like, this is going to be insane.
What's going to be insane is listening to them trying to defend this and saying, well, we balanced the operational budget.
Yeah, that's what they're going to be telling Canadians. We balance the budget. We balance the budget. Oh, but over here there's $100 billion in debt.
In debt.
Or $100 billion, pardon me.
Insanity.
But this is what this is going to be their talking point for the next election, is that we balance the budget. We balance the budget. So all of you who have relatives and friends and coworkers and whoever, you know, that votes Liberal, do not let them get away with this. They did not balance the budget.
And you can say it to them like this. Okay. So you have your regular bills, Mom, right? Yeah. So you have your electric. Yeah. You have your water, and you have your heating bill, right? Yeah. So let's say you get a certain amount of money in and it covers those bills, right? Yeah. Okay. So you've balanced your operational budget, right? Yeah. Now, say you spend $50,000 on a new edition. Are you saying you still balance your budget, or are you saying you're $50,000 in debt now? Well, that's stupid. I'm $50,000 in debt. That's Mark Carney, Mom.
That's the government. Yeah.
And her eyes are going to go.
And you know what? That's a really good point, Ryan, is that I think we need to explain it to our friends and our relatives in ways that are easily understood. Because, again, the government is going to be trying to pull the wool over Canadians' eyes and saying we balance the budget. Look how great we are. We're amazing. We balance the budget. And it's going to be really hard to make some Canadians understand that, no, it is not a balanced budget. It's actually $100 billion in the hole. And
what you can tell them is that with this $100 billion budget, Mark Carney just took $2,500 more per year out of your pocket. Because that's what that equates. If every single Canadian, and I'm talking their kids too, this is everybody.
Yeah, so if you've got a family of 4, that's $10,000.
$10,000. Cost you $10,000 by this $100 billion budget. Because to a lot of these average Canadians that don't pay attention to politics, they can't even conceptualize what $100 billion is. But they can conceptualize something as small as $10,000 being taken out of their pocket for that year.
Right, or you could ask, if your car broke down right now and you needed to buy another one for $10,000, could you afford that? Could you be able to do that? No, absolutely not. Or, well, maybe I could, but it's going to be really, really tough. So the government is taking that $10,000 from your family this year with this budget. And just put it in terms that are relatable.
And someone said, I'm going to be reading this shortly, they're going to call it an investment. Absolutely. And then you can say, yes, remember Justin Trudeau and his government was saying all of this was an investment as well? And look where it got us.
And this is the important work that MP Nation is going to have in the coming election, is helping the people around us understand that this Liberal government didn't balance the budget. They're not investing $100 billion. They are taking $2,500 from each and every single Canadian, and they're doing whatever they feel like doing with it.
Like our friend Marion, her son Shepard, $2,500 attributed to him, and he's not even a month old. So that's what that means. And Duda for $10. Ryan is right. We cannot take the risk of a Liberal majority. We need a Conservative majority. And for that to happen, Canadians, Liberal voters have to suffer through this more to get the hint. Yes, unfortunately.
Yep. And you know what? That's exactly what happened in Ontario. What year was it? I think it was back in 2014, perhaps. They got rid of Dalton McGuinty at the Liberal Party, and then they brought in Kathleen Wynne, and she won a majority. And then in 2018, I believe,
she got crushed.
Yeah, they lost
absolutely
party status.
Crushed.
because a lot of people thought, oh, well, they'll change out the leader and everything will be fine. And it wasn't fine. And so the Conservatives have been in government at the provincial level in Ontario ever since.
That's what we said. When they change out Carney, they get one do-over.
Yeah. And they're not doing very good right now. But this is how they're going to try to make themselves sound like they're doing good, is though we balance the budget and we're investing $100 billion. So don't let your family and friends fall for it.
Lazarus for $10. June for an election. That's 8 months. What will our economy and job housing be like? We suffer, and MPs and ministers keep making 200 to 300K a year, and debt keeps rising. This country needs to wake up. Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
And unfortunately, like you said, some people will need to suffer in order for that to happen. I remember after the election, someone we know who I won't name had made the comment that, you know, the Conservatives should have won this one, and I can't believe after 10 years people are still voting Liberal. Maybe they just haven't suffered enough. Maybe we need to go on for a little bit more under the Liberal banner, and things will get worse. And when people are losing their homes, and when people are having their homes broken into and their cars stolen and they can't afford food, then maybe they'll realize, holy smokes, this is the Liberals' fault and we can't vote Liberal again.
Because a lot of people that were right about to lose their homes and are now in the process of losing their homes, they would have voted Liberal, thinking, well, I'm going to vote for the economist, I'm going to vote for the banker, and I'm going to believe him, and I'm not going to lose my home because of that. Well, not happening.
And I mean, it's not to scold these people, but it's just the reality of the situation. You hear it all the time when you're talking to groups of friends, when you're talking to random people, like, oh, so-and-so I know voted Liberal, and now they're saying that they made a mistake, and they think they should be voting Conservative next time.
Right, and please, 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 remember, don't demonize people for how they voted. Help them realize how to vote next time. It's a very different conversation.
And arm them with the facts,
yep.
Right?
Libby T for $20. Thank you very, very much. There was a real nice chat on Convoy 22 by Tamara and Chris this weekend on their way home to Alberta. Awesome.
Excellent.
Awesome.
I'm so glad that they're both going home.
That must have been a very, very, well, must have been kind of somewhat of a relief driving home, knowing that they were able to drive home, but...
Yeah, because I remember we were speaking with Tamara a few days ahead of time because you were just trying to find out about where's the trial and what time and stuff like that. Or not the trial, the sentencing, yeah. And she had kind of stopped and thought, and she's like, well, she made a comment, that's assuming if I'm going home after kind of thing.
Yes.
I mean, it must have been very daunting, but, do I think that they should have been convicted in the first place? No. But... they have been, and I guess the best situation right now is that they're going home.
Yeah. So. Irish Miss for $20. There is a question that Kelly Block asks the Parliamentary Budget Officer Jason Jake in committee meeting. His reaction to the question was priceless. It would be epic. Clip. Oh, and happy Thanksgiving, NP Nation.
Thank you.
If you're talking about, she says, so when will the budget be balanced? And then he says,
never.
Is that a trick question? A very, very long time. So
that's a good one.
And Doo-Doo for $10. Another idea for an Avengers meme could be Iron Man having his suit charged to 300%. That could be a good meme when the Conservatives get one on Carney. Okay, that's all right. And Michael N. for $10. Great job, Brian. You're doing great work at committee and Tanya holding down the fort. Great job, but it does feel somewhat overwhelming right now with just so much going on. Everything is on fire. Thanks. Yeah, it's very difficult following everything, and it's tough because there's important stuff happening that we're not able to get to because there's just so much going on.
So much of it, yeah. And I think for all of us right now, things can feel hopeless, and we're not here to just be like, oh, everything's going to be fine, don't worry about it. Things are going to be tough, and we're not going to sugarcoat that, but the best way to make it better is to get involved. Democracy only works when all of us are involved. And that can be as simple as writing a letter to your MP, or maybe calling them and making an appointment, volunteering with your EDA or Electoral District Association, going door knocking, donating, just all sorts of things that you can do to help engage in democracy.
And this is why we're back up to, in most cases, 2 videos a day. And this is why we don't take time off, and we're very little time off. I got a day off yesterday, which was nice. But
before I forget, I always talk about our MPs, but you can contact your senator as well. They have the exact same legislative powers as the MPs do. So if you have an idea for a private member's bill, something that you want to see changed, contact your senator. They're not like assigned by riding the way they are here, like for the MPs. Like our MP is Ned Couric. Like there's not 5 that we can pick from, it's Ned. So with the senators, you have a whole bunch for your province, and you can pick anyone that you want. And if there's an idea you have for a private member's bill, get in contact with your senator and ask them for their help.
And you can also send concerns about the government bills, because remember, they're the last line of defense. So. Right.
So if there's something that's coming through the pipes and you see it and you want to talk to your senator about it, again, send them an email, ask them for a phone call, try to make an appointment. The senators, I think, are a little bit less busy than the MPs, because we almost forget that they're there.
Yep. So we'll cow check for $5. Thank you for your community presence. Great job. Do you think you will be called back? I have no idea.
I asked that question too, and that was the answer I got.
I have no idea.
If you do get called back, I think we'll all go this time, as long as Mom can watch Finnick.
Whenever, because I do expect there's going to be another similar online harms bill related to censorship, more specific, coming back, and I will be writing a brief on that if and when that does happen, so it's possible I'll be called back then. So Lazarus for $2. Debt is debt. Yes, it is. That's about all you need to say. 5W for $2. They're going to call it an investment. That's the comment I was talking about. Neil from the Hill for $5. Ask MP Nation to make a Gary voice meme. Best one wins less than that. 3 seconds. Yeah, but then we'll get thousands of emails on that.
Yeah, and you gotta be careful with attachments, right?
Maverick Mary, member for 20 months. Also, every dollar they print is making your money worth less, and will make it very hard for many planning to retire at 65 to be able to. Absolutely. More money is printed, the less money is worth. So that's inflation. Anyway, I think it's that time.
Oral questions.
Oral questions. Oral questions.
The questions, by their very nature, should be pointed, should be tough, should be specific, and the answers should also be clear.
All right, it is MP question period time. If you have a question you'd like to ask us, please tag at Barnaby from Northern Perspective, and he will push the questions up to us. We're going to ask as many as we can and answer as many as we can.
And we're 466 likes away from new memberships being dropped by Will Kowchuk, folks.
There you go. So hit that like button, please. So the first question is from Pierre Luc Surgery. It says, can we create a new law besides the vote of non-confidence to be able to fire an incompetent government? I mean, how much can a government destroy a country before we can fire them?
Can we? Technically, yes. That would require putting a proposal together, and I would say you start with a petition, and then in that petition you call on the government or the House of Commons to put together either a government bill or a private member's bill to actually enact that legislation, and then try and push it through. So
it's something you can also work with either your MP or your senator on. You can, talk to them about the possibility of creating a private member's bill for recall legislation, and that's typically where, say, midterm, you can vote on whether to keep or fire the current MP. So these are just some ideas, but if you do get in contact with your MP or your senator, they may be the best route to help you. You may also not need to contact your MP directly. Like, you may be able to discuss it with their staff, and they might be able to get you started on the path to a private member's bill. Cabal 458 asks, any chance the MP store might stock shirts better suited for us men of greater heft?
So the sizes that they got are the sizes that they got, unfortunately.
Yeah,
so.
we do pass along this type of feedback to the manufacturer. Somebody had actually asked this question, I believe it was on Friday, so I did send it their way, and I haven't heard back yet. But we do, when we receive this kind of information, we do pass it along to the manufacturer in hopes that they can expand their line.
So we have sent that feedback along.
Jessica Van Luke asks, when are the 2 interviews you guys filmed last week going to come out? So one was already dropped on Friday. That was the one with John Carpe.
And the other one, which I can now say because it's we have footage in hand, this was a really good interview. We actually interviewed the president of the Toronto Police Association, and we talked about a few things, including the gun buyback program. And that will be released sometime this week. So
stay tuned.
Check that. Yeah.
Wendy Kitt asks, does the 3 bills of automatic tax, school lunch, and the other one have to go through Parliament, and the guy's name that called Pierre an existential threat, HTG to all?
So the guy's name is Adam Vancouverden. So that's the one guy's name. And I can't recall if there was an actual bill that went through. I thought so I think the bill went through to set up a framework
for the school lunch. So basically they're creating a bureaucracy first, and then they'll push through the actual bill for the school lunches, to my understanding.
Yeah.
That could be wrong, but
the way they wrote that was very bizarre. It was very short.
Yeah.
It was very short.
Yeah. You know what bothers me? Because it's like a food bank for children. Like that's the point we're at in Canada right now.
And what was the last part?
The automatic tax. So that I'm not sure about. Who would know the best is the Canadian Taxpayers Association or Federation, pardon me. Franco's been really pounding the pavement with that one. He's been on, I think it was CTV, and they've had their own videos put out about it.
Yeah, we're going to try and talk to him and get some more clarity.
Yeah, so we're hoping to talk to Franco this week about that, because it's something that's very important, and he makes a really excellent point in that you have the CRA who's trying to create as much revenue for the government as possible, and then they're also trying to give you the biggest return possible. How is that possible?
So we're so this week you'll see, probably, if everything goes well, a couple of interviews. Please watch them, because we get a lot of requests to do interviews, and then we don't get a lot of people watching the interviews, unfortunately. But these ones are clarification interviews, and they're very, very important because they're answering questions that we even have about some of this stuff.
Yeah,
and it'll clarify it for Canadians.
And those are the guests that we try to get on the show, is guests that have knowledge in a specific area or field, and they're able to come and bring their knowledge to Northern perspective, whereas we don't have that knowledge, so we can't tell you guys. We're bringing them in to tell you guys.
So everybody on this stream watches our interviews. I know that. So.
Johannes says, are the NDP going to support the Liberals, Jugmeat 2.0?
So again, you probably submitted this before we address this, but the NDP are going to have to support the Liberals on this budget, because they cannot go to an election in the middle of a leadership race. And plus, as we already addressed, the Conservatives don't want an election right now with the polls where they are. We need some more time.
Yeah, we can risk the Liberals getting majority right now. So nobody wants that. So I think it's going to be a little bit better if we just wait until the spring or summer.
Yep.
Deb DeBoop asks, why is no one talking about Carney telling Quebec that if they wanted money for softwood lumber, they just had to vote for his budget in November?
That has come up a couple of times, but I think the reason why many people are not talking about it is because most people aren't concerned about what happens in Quebec, other than people in Quebec, and that's just the way the political environment is in Canada. So I think people in Quebec are probably talking about that, and if you're watching from Quebec, you can let us know in the chat. But this is the issue with provincial types of issues, where like Quebec is very isolated, and it's it's a nation within a nation. So when something happens that only affects Quebec, there's not a lot of interest in it from the other provinces, and it's one of the reasons why we don't wade into provincial areas is because we have a national audience, and it's going to draw only some significant interest from a very, very small demographic of people, and it would be a lot for us to actually get involved and research about.
Yeah, that's the thing. We're not as knowledgeable on the provincial stuff. Like, if something happens in Ontario, odds are we hear about it because that's where we live. If something really big happens in any particular province, we might have a loose understanding of what's going on. But in terms of knowing like the details of what's happening in every single province, unfortunately, there's just not enough time in the day for us to make ourselves knowledgeable in all those topics.
You'll hear Pierre tell Quebecers that, I'm sure. But you won't hear him tell the rest of Canada that because it's not relevant to the rest of Canada.
Rosemary asks, well, I wonder if Ryan or Tanya can speak to the fact that Pierre Poilievre has not commented on the ridiculously high salaries of some newly appointed parliamentarians are receiving. So parliamentarians refers to specifically MPs and senators. It doesn't refer to anybody else. So the only appointed parliamentarians are the senators, and they all have a standard salary. I want to say it's around $150,000 a year. You might think like, wow, that's huge. But for them, it's actually less than the MPs. So it's not like some big, huge number comparatively. However, they did just spin up that bureaucracy for, what did they call it? Build Canada or something like that?
Well, there's Building Canada, and then there's another one, which is the military defense spending agency or something stupid like that.
So these are bureaucracies that they're spinning up and then appointing people to run these bureaucracies for like almost $700,000 a year. It's insane. That's taxpayer money.
And one of the things that I've noticed right now is the Conservatives are almost exclusively talking about crime, talking about bail. That's their number one issue that they are really driving at right now, because no doubt their internal polling is showing that is what is resonating with Canadians right now. So that's what they're really hitting hard on.
I could be mistaken, but I thought I had heard Pierre make some comments about, especially that lady for the Build Canada, where she's making, again, like almost $700,000 a year, I think. I could be wrong, so I'll own that. But the other thing I have noticed with the Conservative Party, and I started noticing it because people are like, why hasn't Pierre commented on this? Why hasn't Pierre commented on that or that? Is that he is actually delegating now to his MPs.
He's using his team a lot more this time around.
Yeah, it's not so Pierre-centric. It's more Conservative Party-centric. So, for example, with the ostrich farm, you had the MP in the area, Scott Anderson, who was the point of contact, who was the Conservative that's the most vocal about what's going on, and he's the one doing the work, trying to get things done. You have Larry Brock, who is trying to spearhead the bail initiative, as well as ARP in Canada. They're kind of like working together to get bail reform put into this country. It's not so much Pierre anymore. He is kind of taking a step back and letting his team shine.
You'll hear him speak on the most pertinent issues, as that are most important to Canadians across the country, and then on the individual issues, that's where you'll see these other team members come into play.
Chris Ackert asks, the Canadian voters should ask themselves why Carney would take the PM job, making less money than the job he had. Follow the money on every deal in the government.
Yeah. Well, that's the question, right? And we know the answer. It's because he was on record and quoted. We even have the video somewhere where he says, basically the best way to make money is if you can affect the policy. So if you affect policy and you know what the policy is going to be, then you invest accordingly, and then when that policy is implemented, then you're going to be the beneficiary financially for that. So what did Carney do?
It's especially convenient if you have stock options, isn't it?
Well, and so what did Carney do? He built this big fund, and he invested all of his stuff, has his stock options with Brookfield, so he knows where the policies are going to go, Then he decides, I'm going to be the leader of the country. I'm taking a pay cut. I own nothing. I own nothing.
Except housing and some cash.
Except all my investments.
Yeah.
And then he's able to direct policy for the entire country, and then he gets to become the beneficiary of that. So that's why he's actually probably gonna make a lot more money as prime minister as he would if he wasn't.
Airworks 07 asks, while you were at committee this week, were you able to create a meme you can use on NP?
I don't know. I think we're going to wait to hear what NP Nation has to say.
I think the one where, who was it that asked you? I think it might have been Mr. Caucus.
It was Blaine Calkins, and I said...
And you're like, no.
No. No, I said, no.
I think that needs to replace the
Nope.
Chandra Arya one, yeah.
Nope.
Yeah, that one. I would rather have your face up there. Frank the Tank asks, if Pierre is Prime Minister tomorrow, how should Pierre deal with the interprovincial conflicts?
I think he needs to have individual conversations with each of these premiers. And I think he needs to have a public... Well, I don't know if it's public or not, but he needs to have a summit like Carney tried to do. But that summit can't end until they all agree on some really big things that need to happen. They need to agree. Because there's some really important decisions that need to be made in this country. And to be blunt, the leaders in this country need to stop screwing around. It's like you have this big lump of gold buried in a communal backyard between 5 houses, and everyone's screwing around and squabbling. Well, we have to cut down some trees in order to get it. Yeah, but we would all be, a lot better off and a lot more wealthy getting, well, I don't know. Well, I need to think about it. Well, stop screwing around, and you could unleash a golden age on this country. And I'm not understating that. When it comes to the Ring of Fire, when it comes to oil and gas, and you want to be a leader in this world, you can do it by that. Get LNG really, really cooking in this country, and you can displace all the coal on the frickin' planet. You want to talk about reducing carbon footprint? There you go. That's what you do.
Veronica Taylor asks, do you think those 2 brothers from the longest ballot will be fined? Honestly, we don't know. What we did was Ryan he gave committee all of the evidence that we have, and he emailed them off to them today, and it's going to be tabled. It's going to be probably part of the report, and it's up to Parliament now. I mean, if Parliament finds something that's criminal, then they can involve the RCMP. I think that's what they did in the Arrive Can scandal, is how that came about. So Parliament does have powers to delegate things. Like, if there's something in that evidence that they find is problematic, it's up to them to point it to the appropriate authorities, and then the appropriate authorities would take it from there.
Yep.
Northern Perspective, should there be a push by federal Conservatives to support primary challenges to Ford and Houston in their elections to get rid of them? And that's by Ryuchi88.
I don't think that they should get involved.
Yeah, like the federal Conservatives as a party should not get involved. It's not their playground. But many Canadians who are federal Conservative Party members are also provincial members of the Conservative Party in their province, and then it is up to the people. So that's the only way that they would get involved to get rid of them.
And here's the thing, folks: you start making noise at the provincial level if you're in those provinces, and you start making noise within the party that you don't support these leaders, and you're not going to be voting Conservative when you support these leaders, then it starts to change the conversation within the Conservative caucuses in those provinces as to, maybe it's not a good idea if we go into the next election with the current leader that we have. So that's where you need to get, it's what we say, you need to be involved in the municipal level, the provincial level, and the federal level. So if you're in the provincial level, which we're in Ontario, get involved. Get involved if you want to affect positive change, and if you don't think that those are the leaders that you need, then start making your voice known and start encouraging others to do as well.
Jim Trapp asks, Ryan and Tanya, what is number one on your wish list to add to the prosperity of every province in Canada? One and only wish. I would say to make the government get out of the way.
Okay, so I have to choose something.
Oh, sorry.
No,
well, I'm
fine.
glad I said it first then. Can we both have the same answer?
Yeah, the honestly that is the most important thing. Like by far, by a country mile, which is what, 1.7 kilometers, something like that, 2.7 kilometers. I don't know what it is. That's what needs to happen. The government needs to get the frick out of the way. Get rid of C-69. Get rid of the stupid tank. Like, get rid of the handcuffs. And then you will see how fast private investment floods into this country. And we get these resources out of the ground, and the country can prosper again.
And I mean, like, there's some laws that are there for a purpose, right? You can't just go dumping toxic waste into rivers and lakes and kill all the wildlife and poison our drinking water. Like, that's obvious. But when people are just like, oh no, we can't have a pipeline because of the environment.
Well, and then you can fund our military properly without $100 billion deficit.
Yeah. Sorry, I lost my place. Frank the Tank asks, who do we think will be the next NDP leader, and will they be able to attract voters away from the Liberals? Or voters, maybe, away from the Liberals?
I think the person with the best chance is going to be Heather McPherson, French or no French. Because she's a woman, and we all know how much identity politics is playing in the far left. And two, she's the only one running that has a seat in Parliament.
Yes.
So that gives her a massive advantage, because if they end up with somebody that doesn't have a seat, well, I guess that's the good thing, because they're going to have to go to an election pretty shortly after that, because if they don't, then you're going to be sitting there with 7 MPs inside of Parliament, and your leader is outside of Parliament. It's just going to be a very weird dynamic.
Yeah. And I honestly don't know who else has signed up to the leadership race and how long they have to sign up, if signups are already over. But they need to get rid of the identity politics garbage. Even it's falling out of favor on the left. I mean, look at all these Hollywood productions. You've heard the term go woke, go broke, and that's what's happening. People are fed up with it. People don't want it anymore.
People are voting with their wallets because they're tired of it.
So if the NDP is clinging on to this as evidenced by the rules in their leadership race, then I don't know how successful they're going to be.
Yep.
But Ricci88 asks, will the Conservatives ensure majority actually rules in this country if they win? Things like dairy cartel, reconciliation industry, violent protests, for example. Sorry, this one.
I think they will do what makes sense. Are you going to still... Is reconciliation still going to be run? Yeah, probably. Because I don't think it's necessarily a quote-unquote bad thing depending on what you do, right? You don't... you don't just...
I think erasing our history is worse, because if you completely erase our history, you don't talk about it, or you alter it in a way that makes it untrue, you can't learn from it. So to say, okay, these bad things happened in Canada's past, we're not going to let them happen again. That, I think, is a form of reconciliation that is appropriate.
But you also have to say, but there's some really good things that happened in the past as well, and we have to acknowledge those, and we can celebrate them.
Yeah.
So that is true reconciliation, because but they need to put this issue with the Indigenous folks to bed, like literally once and for all, because this seems to be this perpetual thing that keeps going and going and going and going. Like, there needs to be a goalpost. You need to decide what that is, and you need to cross it and then stop, because this is just perpetually ongoing. So that's one thing. And I think they need to deal with the serious problems that are on these reserves, which is like drinking water and things like that.
And the violence and
right.
the crime. And,
so that I think is what, from what we're hearing from Indigenous folks that contact us and email us and in our intercoms, that's number one for them. They don't give a crap about a day, like a national holiday that everybody gets.
Especially Trudeau went surfing the first time.
They care about the real issues. So address that, fine. But for the rest of it, I think they're going to put the country first. They're going to get out of the way, and off you go.
Well, and I think the whole multiculturalism thing has proven to be unsuccessful. I'm not saying that you're not allowed to come over from different countries and have your own beliefs and your own customs. Like, that's fine, but I think we need this identity of what it means to be Canadian, and then everybody kind of needs to be Canadian first, and then you have your own customs and everything kind of there as well. Because the problem is when you have people who are coming over from different countries, especially in large numbers, and they're bringing their old world issues and wars and problems with them, then that creates problems in the new place in Canada. So if you have people coming over, like Group A, that's coming over, and they have problems with Group B, and there's a lot of people from Group B that live in this particular region, and now they're fighting with each other, that can't happen. Like, you have to leave your problems at the door.
Yep. And I think they even need to enact policies. If that happens, then you get, you're reviewed and then potentially deported. We don't want that type of crap here.
Well, and maybe we need to start doing what they did with immigration under the Conservatives, which is they looked at, okay, what cultures, what, maybe what languages or what countries do they speak English and French that people will have an easier time assimilating and coming into Canada.
Well, that's step one.
Yeah.
Step one is they need to change the immigration system back to what it was. So that's step one.
What jobs do we need?
And step two, they need to review the people that are actually here. And if you're committing a crime and like you're on your way to being a citizen, sorry, that's not going to give you any leeway. Get the heck out. That should be an indication maybe they're not going to be a good citizen, so get the heck out. That's what they should be looking at.
Yeah, we need to stop this. Oh, well, so-and-so is up for citizenship in a year or whatever, so any criminal record could jeopardize that. Yeah. You commit a crime, you go back.
Maybe ask the individual, why did you jeopardize your citizenship by doing that?
Right.
Stupid.
Strange Brew asks, could the Libs have a few MPs be absent for the budget vote? The government falls and they can blame the opposition for not giving them time.
It's
Technically,
unlikely.
yes, but it's not likely.
Unlikely.
Theoretically, those Liberal MPs could vote to reject the budget and then the government falls, but they'd be out of caucus. They wouldn't be running again. So is it possible? Sure. Is it likely? No.
Yeah, it's unlikely.
Sorry, this is from King Cash Kong. Asks, would MP be willing to do a video for the next election that details each party's policies and stances? It would be nice to see a side-by-side for each party. So that was the goal for this past election, but the parties released their platforms really late.
Yeah, like really
late. And we were busy volunteering and trying to, help as much as we could for the upcoming election. They really didn't make it easy to do that this time, did they?
Yeah, but because the problem is what they were doing is it was like new announcement, new announcement, new announcement, new announcement. And
yeah, and you couldn't even compare them side by side, because like the Conservatives might talk about crime on day 1 and the Liberals might talk about it on day 10, and it was just a mess.
But we can see what we can do, because it was basically a week before the elections when we finally got everything out. But we'll see what we can do.
And I know a lot of people have voted by then.
Yeah.
So, Megaman Zero asks, do Conservatives have a plan to fight Chinese police stations and asset acquiring in Canada? CCP, pardon me, is speculating on Canadian housing market. I don't know.
I don't know that they don't. At this point, I would say, is that their number one focus? I would say no, just because right now they're in opposition and they're looking at the issues that are at top of mind of Canadians for this point. Different conversation as we get really close to the election, and different conversation when they form government, though. In the people that we've talked to, it's not something that they've forgotten. Let me put it that way.
Martin Friesen asks, could the opposition parties not join together and ask the Governor General to let them form government?
They could, but King being a fair.
It would cause a constitutional crisis. This is what actually they had tried in 2008. And that's why we went to prorogation about 6 weeks after the election, is because Stephen Harper and the Conservatives were in power, minority government. The Bloc, NDP, and Liberals were trying to form a coalition behind the scenes to vote down the government and then request the Governor General allow the NDP and the Liberals govern together. And in order to evade that, Harper called a prorogation because it would have caused a constitutional crisis. That's why sometimes you'll hear the Liberals saying, oh, well, Stephen Harper prorogued Parliament. That's why.
To avoid a confidence vote. Yeah, that's what.
Yeah, that's what they'll say, to avoid the confidence vote. And that confidence vote would have caused a constitutional crisis in this country.
Yeah,
so that's
6 weeks
why.
after he took power. Like,
yeah.
Stupid.
So, but it is possible within our Constitution. It just would make a huge mess of things. This one you can answer. It is from Curdy. It says, how hard is it to create a petition with the government?
It's not difficult per se. You need to research really what you want done. You need to word it in such a way that it's informative but succinct, because there is a character limit in the petition. You need to know and understand where you're addressing it to, because there is a selection for that, and you need to negotiate with an MP, either yours or somebody else, on who is going to sponsor your petition, because you have to get them to agree to sponsor it before it goes through. And then you need 5 initial signatories, not yourself, that will actually sign in support of the petition. So those are all the prerequisites to actually have. And then once you have that, then you can submit it to the clerk, and then the clerk actually gets it moving along. That's the easy part. The hard part is advertising and getting people to sign it. Even with us, it's difficult to get lots and lots and lots of people to actually get on board and sign it. Like, we have 200,000 subscribers on our latest petition. I think it was like 23,000 people signed the anti-EV mandate petition, which closed the other day. So it's tough. That's the toughest part, is getting people to sign it.
And this one's another one for you. It's from Linda Skellhorn. It says, Stephanie McLean is an MP, but she got the title Secretary of State for Seniors from Carney. What would her role entail? So
she's effectively a junior minister. That's what a Secretary of State is, and under Carney's government. And what she does is she assists the Minister of Seniors and other portfolios in what they're doing, and they help run the agencies. They help plan policy, execute the agenda. They go to public speaking events. They participate in cabinet meetings and that sort of thing, and they would also help plan any budgetary items related to that portfolio, and that's, you know, it's a lot of work to actually do that. So that's a high level of what they would do.
Laura Baker asks, is the new policy of having CRA do your taxes for low income a precursor for CRA doing everyone's taxes and the framework for digital ID?
I think they're two separate things.
But I think they might be coming. And
No.
I think for the taxes, I think this is definitely a precursor, as you said. Because if they're like, okay, we can handle doing very simple tax returns, like automated, then what's to stop us from doing everybody's tax returns automated? And looking at our business tax return, for example, I am very glad we have an accountant and that neither the CRA nor either of us is doing it.
Yeah. So, but I don't think it's
complicated.
related to digital ID. I think because the government already has technically all of your information in order to do your taxes, so they don't need anything new in order to do that. They don't need, like, they can't use that as an excuse to implement digital ID because they already have this information. So, but it's parallel. It's not a dependency for digital ID. I think there's other things that they would do in order to justify digital ID. I don't think that's one of them, though. Just from a technology perspective.
Sorry, just seeing if I missed anything. Joseph Hansen asks, is there any truth to Quebec removing English as an official language?
I don't think they'd be allowed to do that.
I don't know, because at the provincial level, the only bilingual province is New Brunswick. So right now, as far as I understand, provincially Quebec, French is their official language. But in Parliament, like federally, it's both languages.
So
I have a friend in Quebec. I'll ask him and see if he knows.
They've also been talking about it for over a year. So I highly doubt. I think you'd see a lot of people in Quebec rail against that.
And that was the last one.
Okay, so let's go and finish this up.
Oh, guys, we're 20 likes away from getting more memberships.
I think we'll already drop them.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Will.
Let's see. Jason Barrett for $10. This week we had yet another glance of Trump leaving our PM in a trance, and we all had a gander of Mark's ability to pander while squeezing out at Carney in his pants.
Wow. Brilliant.
You guys are going to love this one.
And I kind of like picture you as like a minstrel, like saying these poems and like playing a lute.
Right.
Amazing. I love it.
And for those wondering, we're going to be going into the bottom of the ninth, and it's Jay's last chance to actually turn this around.
Good.
Janet Gage for $5. It's called Cooking the Books. Corporations are shut down and the executives go to the prison in the real world. Yes, they do. Capitalist Spy for $2.79. What are your favorite think tanks?
Frontier Center for Public Policy. Shout out.
Yeah, them and the C.D. Howe Institute. That's what I would say.
I was going to say, if you want to watch, what's David's show called? Leaders on the Frontier. That's a great show where he has
a great podcast.
Lots of very knowledgeable people on, and they just have these fantastic conversations. We've been on there once or twice. I think we were on there once, and he's been on here a few times. But yeah, I love the FCPP.
And we have Will Kalchuk for $2. Just look around. So many houses for sale. Like, wow, right? Right?
Yeah, there's 5 on our street that have been for sale for at least a couple months.
And,
Yeah.
well, probably 3 months now.
Yeah.
Colleen Hall, Mouse, member for 7 months. Oh, and you know the real estate market is bad when you start seeing lots of ads for people trying to be a real estate agent.
Yes, they keep like leaving flyers at our front door, like the things that hook on your front door.
And I see them all the time on the internet now.
Yeah.
And they're targeted too. They're like, how much is your home worth in Anyway, Colleen Hall, member for 7 months. Have a happy Thanksgiving for you and your family. Thank you. You
Thank
as well,
you.
Colleen, and everybody else in chat. And Dudu for $20 for a voting method I use. For voting, a method I use is listing these basics. What are the parties promising? How realistic are those promises? What sacrifices will they make to keep those promises? And what is the party's track record? Gets you thinking. Excellent questions.
Awesome. Thank you.
Very good questions. Autistic Avenger for $5. Another Marvel meme idea is Cap saying, "You've got to be crapping me," in Endgame, or Fury saying, "Now that's a bunch of bull caca."
Bull pies.
Unmitigated horse pucky.
That's the one.
In Far From Home. There you go. And our Dark Star for $7. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Just a reminder, democracy politics is not a spectator sport. There you go.
You got it. Thank you.
Janice H. for $10. Carney has hired his buddy from Goldman Sachs, Doug Guzman, for the Cabinet Minister of Defense Contracting. Carney is paying him $680,000 of our tax-paying dollars.
How is that possible? Cabinet minister?
No, he's not the cabinet minister.
Okay.
He's
I misunderstood that.
He's because the problem is it confuses people because he's technically called the deputy minister, but it's not a
It's not a ministerial position. Okay, so he's not in cabinet.
Government makes these stupid frickin' titles, and it's not just these ones. They're everywhere. They're in the agency I worked at, and they're stupid.
Well, and like even within the political parties, it'll be like director of such and such, and it's like an 18-year-old kid fresh out of school.
Yeah. So, like, there was one title in IT that they would hire for, and it was called system administrator.
But that's a regular, normal IT title, is it not?
It is if you have the proper job description associated with it. But they would have a developer have a system administrator title. And in the real world, you don't call a developer, someone who writes code, a system administrator. You call them a developer.
System administrator is like the guy that deals with the servers, isn't
Correct.
it? Okay. See, I know a little bit.
And then they would have another title called programmer analyst. No, that's also a developer. Stupid. So you have these titles, deputy ministers. They're effectively the president of the agency. That's very different than minister. So
Got it. But yeah, that's a lot of taxpayer money, almost $700,000.
Yeah.
And again, I get that you have to pay people well in order to get top talent, but come on.
Libby T for $5. The Liberals were doing a filibuster in committee on C8. The Brock Star was discussed with him. Yes, he was. Yes, he was. Sly 256 for $10. I happened to view a very interesting video from Canada Media. It discussed Carney discussing a deal for 12 submarines with Germany. The U.S. getting wind of it are treating this as a betrayal. Well, it's not. That's the thing. It's not really new because he was talking about that before. But why aren't we building them in Canada, Carney? You said we were going to build everything in Canada.
Right. But we don't need steel in Canada. Do you remember that?
When's the last time you bought steel? Moron.
Thank you to Will Kowalchuk with a $5 super chat. It says, Ryan and Tanya, you need some time off. Take it. We all got your back. Enjoy life. We got you. Thank
Thanks.
you very much. We appreciate it. I was saying to Ryan, maybe in the summer we might try to go somewhere. But we'll see.
Well, if we go anywhere, it'll be in Canada. So
Yeah, no, there was, we were debating on maybe going, oh no, we're going to Calgary with my parents. That's for sure.
Yeah.
We're still going to work a little bit when we're out there though. We can't not. We're like type A personalities. We always have to be doing something.
It's the problem for working for yourself is when you're not working, you know you're not getting paid.
Well,
so
and also we get bored easily.
I'm more concerned about getting paid. And Peter Whitten for $10. Meme timestamp 24 to 2412 from the best moments of Ryan. Ryan responds to MP Calkin asking about getting 0 votes. I think a legitimate candidate would be embarrassed to get that amount. There you go.
You know, when I saw that, I burst out laughing. It was amazing. It was such a good answer.
Well, and before you even finished the question, I knew what I was going to say. That's the funny part. So
Yeah, because you kind of cut him off a bit.
yeah. And I saw
That's
Cooper
okay.
go, So, partly retartly for $7. How dare you? No, that's the other person. I found out Buffalo move into a storm to get through it quickly. If Carney gets any wins, we will be moving with the storm. Here's some catnip money. Thank you very much.
So much. Here, you can get rid of the bar now, and you can put Pixel up. She loves catnip. I don't know if Pazuzu actually has the gene that like makes him reactive to catnip or not. I can't quite tell. But we have some fresh catnip in the garden, and Pixel absolutely loves it. YouTube decided to skip a couple on us. We have Sly256 with a $10 super chat. It says, I happen to view a very interesting video from... Oh, no, you got that one.
Got that
Sorry.
one.
And then we have Gordon Muir dropping 20 Northern Perspective memberships.
Thank you very much, Gordon. And Ranger for $5. Thank you very much. 420 hitter for $2. Carney uses the Pulaski method. And Gokodani, member for 23 months. Canada is the last Eden. We need to fight for it like the third monkey on Noah's Ark. And brother, it's starting to rain. I'm tired of watching the CCP own a darn thing here. We can't own a square inch over there. Enough. Completely agree with you.
100% agree.
Completely agree.
You know, maybe 20, 30 years ago when we didn't have a housing crisis, that might have been acceptable, but it's not anymore. So I don't think they should be buying up our land. I think Mexico is another country that only permits citizens to own land. I'm not 100% sure. Don't quote me on that, but I think Canada needs something similar.
Ontario has some anti-foreign ownership tax that they implemented back in 2015 or 16, something like that. But
still, if
we don't have anything federal.
If you're a bazillionaire, is that really going to stop you?
Right. Marie Perrin for $5. Let the people vote for pipelines without the government interference. A people referendum. Right? If it's going to be a national project, then make it a national referendum.
Well, and the thing is, I think a lot of people don't realize that when they vote for X party that they are voting against pipelines or they are voting for pipelines. I think a lot of people do make uninformed votes, which is sad because democracy only works when we're all involved and when we're also all informed.
Well, that was the result. I think Abacus did a poll in the last election. 47% of Canadians said that they had an uninformed vote. Crazy. Marion Drinkwalter for $5. I'm sorry, but I just cannot feel bad about the mess we're in. We were warned about Carney from the British PM and blasted mess he made over there.
And Desiree Fixler as well. She came on our show and told people.
Couple times, yep.
She came on once before the election, though. So when there was still time to, avoid this mess, and she had said, Carney's brand is crisis. He manufactures these crises, and he's the only guy that can solve them. And there you go.
Coconut Lock for $7. Have you guys heard of China CCP, RCP laundering money through the monastery in PEI? That's probably what that previous person was talking about. We haven't dug into it, but you just added a bit more context. Thank you. Will Kalchuk dropping his 20 memberships. Thank you very, very much for that.
Thank you.
And Jessica Van Luke for $7. If Heather McPherson wins, we are definitely heading for an election. She said we could be heading for an election by spring. Absolutely. That was in our video.
Yep.
And
that's what we're hearing from political people that we know. So again, it's not a guarantee.
Yeah.
But March 28th, I believe, is when they select their leader for the NDP. So anytime after that, I think is fair game.
Lost Labradorian member for 16 months. Happy Thanksgiving all, and to you as well. And Gokodani for $10. Are you online? Do you own a phone? Do you bank or do anything mobile online? You already have a digital ID. The PC and the net had larger plans than just making our lives easier. Wink, wink. Just saying. So this is what I call, it's not a digital ID, it's digital footprint, which is a little different. Digital ID is essentially it's an amalgamation of all of your digital footprint online into one ID. And
you need that to pay for things or to buy a bus ticket or a train
to get
ticket.
health care, right? There's just from a technology perspective, throw the politics out. Technology perspective,
bad idea.
While throwing away all the nefarious stuff, like let's just all be optimists at this point. Great idea, because it simplifies everything. You can just walk into a store, pick something up, and then walk out. Like you'd literally be living in the world 2500. And then, You know, if somebody found you on the side of the road and you're unconscious, they take you to a hospital and poop, they know everything about you. Like, there's some really, really good advantages about it. Now, let's exit optimism and go into realism. Now we're into the world of big, big problems, because I wouldn't trust my data with the government. And you create a digital ID, guess what? You've told all the hackers around the world, hey, there's a huge treasure trove of stuff that it would be great to ransom the government of Canada for. It would be really, really handy for us to do that. So there's a lot of problems with that. Never mind the fact that there's all the privacy concerns, that they will know where you are and what you're doing and what you're shopping, what you're buying, what you're not buying. There's huge privacy concerns with it. And it's never, never, never a good idea to allow the government into your life. Again, the government needs to get out of our lives, not get further entrenched within our lives.
Because I think of the hacking capabilities, like if somebody was like, hey, Bob, you know, we know you're cheating on your wife because every day at 5 o'clock you drive over to this lady's house and you stay there for 50 minutes and then you come back.
So $500, or
Yeah.
we'll let your wife know.
Give us 10 grand or we're going to tell your wife.
And we won't tell you that your wife's cheating on you at the same time, by the way.
Right, like this is the kind of stuff that too much information belonging in one place can create.
Autistic Avenger for $5. People need to wake up and pay more attention. I know what's going on and take action early. Know what's going on, take action early instead of waiting for disaster with painful recovery. 100%. Neil from the Hill for $5. When will the cons stop beating around the bush and start talking about what this government has done to the country with regarding to the jab? I'm guessing that's what it means.
Honestly, I don't think this is a top issue for Canadians at the moment. I'm not saying individual Canadians might not be concerned about it, but just on aggregate, I don't think a lot of people are concerned with this, and that's why it's not being spoken about.
What you can tell what the top issues are in terms of the polling around the country when it comes to what the Conservatives are doing, because it's what Pierre talks about first in question period. What does he talk about? He's either talking about the economy and affordability, or he's talking about crime. So those are the major issues that are on the minds of Canadians. As Tanya said, doesn't mean this is not an issue with a lot of Canadians. It's just on aggregate, he needs to go with the ones that are dominating the polls. And
it's the Pareto principle, right? You want to address the concerns that are affecting 80% of the population.
And if you want to address it with the Conservatives, either talk to your MP if they're a Conservative MP, or email a Conservative MP if you don't have a Conservative MP, and ask to speak to them. Because before Larry Brock knew who we were, and I didn't call his office and say, hey, this is Northern Perspective.
We were still puppets at the time.
I just called Larry Brock's office and say, I'd like to speak to Larry Brock, and I would like to speak to him on the specific issue. And he called me. So that's what I would recommend. Kokodani for $5. Canada Proud just announced that the freak that was the head of QP was just ousted. Small wins are still a win. Oh, well. That's positive.
That's good, because I don't think he was serving the union appropriately.
No, he was serving his own political interests.
Yeah, and things that were of importance to him, he made front and foremost, and the issues of the actual union, like labor stuff, didn't really seem to cross his radar.
The other thing that I would love to see is legislation that would prevent unions from influencing their voters on how to vote. Like, your union is between you and your employer.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be allowed to force or even be seen to trying to force or manipulate and influence your membership on how to vote. Screw off. Aaron Drinkwalter for $2. We should have an MP Stampede barbecue here in Calgary. Well, we're going to have something.
Yes, we are planning something. We just don't know what it is yet.
Yep. So Stampede next year, there'll be an NP event. And Anubis, not mentioning your middle name, Hades, for $2. Discord was hacked digital IDs from the UK. Yup. And that I'm going to skip to CGR 902 for $10. Did you see that Discord had a big data breach recently that leaked all the government IDs being used for age verification? I'm guessing this is a direct consequence of the UK age laws. And this is when people were asking, why did we take down our Discord server? Because
that's part of the problem.
This type of stuff was going on.
But also, this is why you had written the brief last year to the committee about Bill
Age
S210
Yep.
requiring age verification for adult content.
Yep.
I mean, we don't feel particularly strongly about people accessing that kind of content. You're an adult, do what you want. But the issue was, okay, so you are trusting some website to store your ID information so that you can look at certain photos.
Well, this is literally what happened. Like, I predicted this would happen in my brief. This exact thing. I said the main issue is that you are going to set up one of the most desirable repositories with a big flag and flashing lights and you know, a 120-piece marching band that is trying to attract hackers to it.
Well, and you think about it, what happens between you and your computer is often very private, so you don't want a hacker having information to that and going, hey, so I noticed you looked at this website and this one and this one, you know, all of it's perfectly legal, but I know it might embarrass you, so I'm going to tell all your coworkers unless you give me 10 grand.
Hey, everybody, Bob has these fetishes.
Yeah.
Guess what? And you're going to have people that are unaliving themselves. You're going to have people quitting their jobs. You're going to have people being fired from their jobs. You're going to have... It's
not
a disaster.
Good idea.
So, and this is what would happen. So, anyway. And Goko Dani for $2. What is a server? Someone else's computer. Yep.
A really big one.
Well, they're not that big these days, but yeah. So, anyway. This is what we said would happen. But here it is. So, unfortunately, Jay's Nation suffered a loss today. But
hopefully looking at Pixel will make you feel a little better.
This is why we have a 7-game series, right? So we'll see what happens. Anyway, interesting discussion tonight. Great questions,
a lot of fun.
as usual, folks. But I think we're gonna probably call it here. And tomorrow we may or may not have a video out. We'll probably have a clip from this live stream on tomorrow, and we're going to be dropping, unless something weird happens, which is possible.
It's always possible in politics.
We're going to be dropping a very important video on Tuesday evening, probably, unless something very weird happens. So keep an eye out for Tuesday evening.
And we are speaking with Franco, I think, on Tuesday, so hopefully we'll have that available.
Yeah, and that's not the one I'm talking about. So
no, I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah. But I think everybody will be very interested in it. Anyway, folks, thank you so much for the support as usual. Thanks for sticking with us on a Sunday over Thanksgiving. And thanks for catching the Jays game with us. We'll hopefully see a different result next time. But that's it from us and the Governor General here. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of the long weekend and Thanksgiving. And we'll see you in the comments, folks.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great weekend.